Okay, somebody on Google Plus asked me to show me making mozzarella cheese from start to finish. So here we go. Right now I just have whole milk in a pot. That's a gallon of milk. It's in a big pot. It's actually in a pot that I use for canning and for steaming. It's a stock pot. It's paper thin and really is no good to heat anything in. But it gives me lots of space, so this is what I'm using, and I actually just have it sitting on top of another pot, so I've got a double boiler set up. I got to bring the milk to 85 degrees, and then I'm going to curdle it. And this whole gallon of milk is going to end up making about a softball size piece of mozzarella, maybe smaller. Okay, so at 85 degrees, I'm going to add citric acid. Now, this thermometer I use is not a food thermometer, but it's what they call a basal thermometer. It's for women who are trying to get pregnant, and so they take their temperature for ovulation purposes. So it's extremely accurate. It's a really accurate digital thermometer, and that's what you want when making cheese. So you can see we're at 91 degrees. I actually went a little too hot. At 85 degrees I add citric acid, so I may have blown this. If it gets too hot, you're essentially ultra pasteurizing the milk. Organic milk is ultra pasteurized, so when you make cheese you can't use organic milk. And the best milk to use is unpasteurized, which you can't even buy in the U.S. unless you go to a farm and I don't know, they sell it to you illegally or something. So we're a little too hot at 92. I'm going to wait for this to get to 85 and then I'm going to curdle it. Like I said, much more accurate than your average food thermometer. Okay, so I've got the milk with the citric acid, and I'm using my handy dandy ovulation thermometer. It's at 93 degrees right now. I'm going to bring it up to 100 degrees, and then I'm going to add rennet, a chemical used in cheese making for curdling. Okay, it's almost at 98 degrees now. I'm going to stop recording because I'm going to have to pull this off right now. Okay, so all my mozzarella curds have been brought up to 105 degrees. Now they're in I'm going to keep it in this covered pot, and it has to sit for about 10 minutes. Then I'm going to take my bare hands and squeeze out all the curd, and I'm going to put it into this water, which I was using as a double boiler a second ago, but I'm going to turn this water into a salty brine. Okay, so I've got all my curds and whey here. I'm going to pour the curds and whey into here. I hope this little pan is big enough to hold the whey, but I'm going to strain it all out here. Looks kind of gross, but that's mozzarella cheese. That's all beautiful curd down there on the bottom. Again, I'm saving all my whey because, as Ann Ricci will tell you, that's how you make sauerkraut. Okay. My hands have been thoroughly washed, by the way. Okay. So now, we'll take the rest of the curd, put it in like so. And then I'm going to start just squeezing out as much water as I can. My hands are thoroughly clean. Now, some people, some smart people, would use a cheesecloth for this. But I didn't have one handy. And I kind of like the tactile feel of putting my hands in normal cheese. But now, this is just a curd. It needs to be cooked into mozzarella. So, here I have the salty brine. Oh, and my Sunday morning bologna. Here I have a salty brine. And I'm going to put this in there, and it'll then cook and actually become mozzarella. Squeeze out as much water. It doesn't seem like it makes sense to squeeze out water and then put it in water, but that's a technique. Okay, now how hot should the water be? Actually, I don't know. There's probably a book that'll tell you, but hot enough that I can touch it with my hands. Should have tied my hair back. Hot enough that I can touch it with my hands, and this isn't quite hot. This is quite a little too hot. I'll pour some of that out. This is near boiling, but we want it more like McDonald's coffee. That's pretty good. Just so I can barely put my hands in it. Salt it up a little more since I just lost some salt. Whew, it's hot. Just barely put my hands in it. Okay, now I'm going to take this curd, like so. Squeeze it. This is not the ball of mozzarella. It just happens to be in a ball shape. As I put it in the brine for cooking. I'm just trying to get out the liquid. Agree. And now, we take this very hot cheese. This is a gallon of milk. This is what we ended up with. And I'm gonna pull it and knead it and get the water out of it. You can see it's turning into a nice smooth ball of mozzarella, or mozzarella as they say in New York. Not in Italy, in New York. Okay. So, I'm going to heat that up again because it's, as I'm twisting it and pulling it, it's separating into, into threads. This water is extremely hot. If you make this at home, I would highly recommend that you use those Playtex Living Well Lady gloves. Do they still call them Living Well Lady? I don't know. They used to call them that. Kind of sexist. This is very hot. And again, it's hot enough to make the cheese melt, and that's what I want. Now, the more I pull this and twist it, the more string cheesy it's going to be, but also the more tough it's going to be. So if I want it to be somewhat, not too elastic, which I don't, I'm going to stop here, because this is officially mozzarella. But just like dough, it's not come together yet. So I'm going to put put it in my brine one last time, and it's going to come out as a perfect ball of mozzarella. That's it. I'll slice it up with some tomatoes in a minute while this cooks. Cheese.